The Term for Business Negotiation, by David Pai. Useful Language, UNIT 1 Negotiation Strategy, Part 1. Overemphasis on STH. To overemphasize STH. In my opinion, there seems to be an overemphasis on price in our discussions. If you ask me, we're overemphasizing delivery time. We should be more focused on quality. We have to be careful not to overemphasize minor factors. Bargaining chip. Since he was very flexible on warranty period, he used this as a bargaining chip to get concessions on delivery time. They are obviously using their good relationships with local government as a bargaining chip to try to negotiate exclusive rights to sell our product in this market. It's too early in the negotiation to throw away bargaining chips. Never give something up without getting something in return. Tactics and strategy. We always have to keep in mind our long-term strategy of building a good relationship. Tactical concerns include discount and delivery. Using this client to establish a relationship in this new market is more of a strategic concern. It's time to go beyond just thinking about short-term tactics and start considering long-term strategies. BATNA and bottom line. To determine our BATNA, we have to consider not just the other offers on the table, but also potential buyers that we haven't yet talked to. Before you can determine your bottom line, you need to put a value on your best alternative. Sometimes your best alternative is to do nothing at all. Several not so obvious things go into deciding your BATNA, including the timing of the deal. A bird in the hand may be worth two in the bush. Deal sweeteners. If we're going to get them to agree to our offer, we're going to have to think of some ways to sweeten the deal. Why don't I sweeten the deal a little by increasing our discount by 1%? There's a variety of deal sweeteners that we can use to make buying our company more attractive. Concession, compromise, agreement. If there's going to be any agreement, it's necessary for one of us to make a concession. The only way to reach a compromise is to make a concession. The negotiation was finally successful when the other party backed down and compromised on a key issue. The Term for Business Negotiation, UNIT 2 Negotiation Strategy, Part 2. Parties and decision makers. It's not always obvious at first glance who the decision makers are. Often, there are more than just two parties to a negotiation. Deals may be complex, and we must also consider government or shareholder involvement. It's important to recognize the real parties to the negotiation and identify the key decision makers. Interests. Where someone is coming from. I don't think I really understand where he's coming from on this issue. We asked them about their motives for the merger to get a feeling for where they were coming from. It's not at all clear to me where she is coming from. Synergy. After many mergers, the promised synergies fail to materialize, often because of cultural and management differences. A lot of what we are doing in negotiation is looking for synergies between our companies. Identifying synergy effects requires creative thinking. To think outside the box. I particularly admire his ability to think outside the box. He's very original. In many tough negotiations, it can really help if there is someone on both sides who can think outside the box. Often, finding and creating value requires thinking outside the box. Overcoming blockage, removing barriers, obstacles, and impediments. It was a real challenge to remove the barriers that had been set up, but in the end we succeeded. Overcoming blockage is a process of getting rid of obstacles in the road to an agreement. A typical impediment to compromise is an overemphasis on price. To be a blessing or a curse. Fierce competition can be both a blessing and a curse. Time constraints can be a blessing and a curse, both speeding things along and causing people to give up without reaching agreement. Having a clear bottom line can be both a blessing and a curse. It's often better to be fairly flexible in your approach. Business ethics, potential value. Corporate social responsibility is an area of great potential value to companies these days, since it can help companies build brand image and loyalty. More and more companies are recognizing the potential value of environmental protection. There is good evidence that expanding and protecting shareholder rights actually can have a positive effect on stock price. The term for business negotiation, UNIT 3. Building relationships. Starting off on the right foot. It's great finally to have the opportunity to meet you in person. I'm grateful for this chance to talk. We've heard a lot of great things about you. Your reputation precedes you. Explore each other's needs with a you attitude. What direction are you taking your business? What would be an ideal outcome for you? What are the top 5 things you value most in a business relationship? What do you like most about your current supplier, and what would you like to change? What are you hoping to achieve in the next year? What are your medium and long-term goals? Establishing common interests. We have a lot of common ground. There are definitely many areas where our interests are aligned. There is great potential for synergy between our two businesses. Our needs in this area complementary, don't you think? Emphasizing solidarity, our long-term partnership can only contribute to the success of both our companies. This is a great chance to forge an even closer and more productive working relationship. By working closely together, we can achieve great things. Joining forces. Because we faced such fierce competition from larger companies, I suggested joining forces with some of our competitors. Originally, they were on opposite sides, but then, when they faced a common enemy, they joined forces to defeat their competitor. Suggest the next step. This is an area that's worth exploring further. Let's try to hammer out an agreement. Why don't we get together next Thursday or Friday to talk? The next step, I'd say, is to get all the parties around the same table. The term for business negotiation, UNIT 4. Getting started, goodwill. I feel sure that you share our desire to find a solution. We are committed to being your partner in developing long-term, mutual value. We are dedicated to building a lasting relationship. We really look forward to working with you. Starting off, may I begin by saying that we have looked at your quotation very closely. First of all, let me give you some background on our proposal. We understand that you are looking for a solution to this problem. Suggesting an agenda, we have 3 main issues we'd like to discuss with you today. I was thinking we could start by discussing the details of the order, then, moving on to price. Setting ground rules. Before we go on, could we agree on procedure? Why don't we break after an hour for lunch? Please feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have any questions. Clarifying. What exactly do you mean by that? If I understand correctly, you're saying that production costs will be much higher than expected. Right. So I think what you're saying is you are not prepared to offer a higher discount unless we increase our order, is that right? Can you perhaps go into a little more detail on that? Before we discuss this point, I'd like to be sure about your position on exclusivity. Probing. Could you tell us more about your product's special features? Could you go into more detail about your standard delivery terms? What kind of special offers do you have? Wouldn't it be possible to ship the goods through South Africa? Have you got an example of this? I can't see how your position ties up with the rising raw material prices. Exploring possibilities. I would like to explore a number of options with you. There are a number of ways to look at this. I think there are a number of possibilities we'd suggest looking at. I'm sure we can find some common ground. Being non-committal, I'd need to think about that. That could be a possibility. That might be worth trying. That depends. Can you tell me more? The term for business negotiation, UNIT 5 clarifying and evaluating positions, stating your position, strong. Frankly, I must say that we have to be very firm on this point. We have to insist on our point of view. Stating your position, careful. At first sight, this appears to be an untenable position for us. It seems to me that this is an area where it would be very helpful for you to make a concession. I would not like you to think that we are being inflexible. Clarifying positions. If I understand the position correctly, you are looking for better credit terms. Am I correct? As we see it, this is the position at the moment. How do you see our objectives? Can I just summarize our positions as I see them? Giving supporting reasons, let me explain why we have reached this conclusion. I also have to take into account many other factors. There are several aspects to this situation. I'd just like to briefly run through 7 points that explain our position on this. Evaluating positions, positive. Despite a couple points of minor disagreement, the arrangement under discussion obviously has a lot to offer both sides. Though there are still a couple of loose ends to tie up, we feel overwhelmingly positive about the compromise that we've reached. This is a good offer, no doubt about it. Evaluating positions, negative. Honestly, this offer leaves a lot to be desired, in our point of view. We've looked at the figures closely, and I can't say that we currently have a very high appraisal of this deal. At this point, I think it's really tough to see where the value is for our side. The term for business negotiation, UNIT 6 declining an offer while maintaining goodwill, making a final offer, that's already just about as far as we can move on this issue. We've already made many concessions, so we need to hold firm at this point. If we bend any further, we just won't be making any money on this deal. The only way we're going to reach agreement is by taking a win-win approach. That's our final offer. Expressing dissatisfaction. Unless your side takes a different approach, at this point I just don't see any clear way forward. Face it. We're wasting our time. Frankly, we're not satisfied with the offer on the table. We seem to have reached an impasse. That figure is just too rich for our blood. Expressing regret. I'm sorry to hear that you feel that way. It's too bad that we see things differently on this issue. Well, obviously this is frustrating for both sides. Creating goodwill. Obviously, though, there are other areas where we'll be able to work together. I would still like to emphasize how much we appreciate our partnership. Despite our differences of opinions, we are committed to a long-term partnership. Your support means a lot to us. The term for business negotiation, UNIT 7 bargaining, emphasizing possibilities for further cooperation. We're looking for a steady supplier. After we get you on our approved supplier list, we should be able to give you consistent business. We're definitely in the hunt for a long-term partner. Trading concessions. If I agreed to stagger the payments, would you find that more acceptable? Would it help if we offered to install the equipment for free? Give us a better discount, and we'll make a larger order. We can toss in free delivery if you are willing to accept a later shipment. Signaling for movement. That seems rather high. Don't you think that's a little low? Can you go a little lower? Turning on the pressure positive. To reach agreement, we're going to have to see a little movement on price. You're lowering the price by just 2% would enable us to seriously consider the offer. Turning on the pressure negative. We can't really accept these conditions. Honestly, we were hoping for better terms. I'm really doubtful whether I can get the other members of my team to agree to this. Suggesting alternatives and their benefits. Have you considered ordering earlier? Then you could save on shipping. What if we get a third party to check the quality? That way we can avoid any further problems. Responding to a proposal cautious yes, that could be a way forward. Well, that might be possible, but we need something in return. Responding to a proposal strong yes, okay, we can agree to that. That sounds fine. That's acceptable. Responding to a proposal strong no, I must say no, and I'll give you my reasons. I'm sorry, that's just out of the question, my hands are tied I have to say no. Responding to a proposal soft no, that would probably be a little bit tough for us. I'm afraid that might be hard to do. That could be a bit of a stretch. Copyright. The term for business negotiation, buying more time, I'll need to check a few details. I'd like to consult with my colleagues before committing to a view on the point. Why don't we come back to that point again after we've discussed payment terms? Unit 8 Restarting talks, starting the discussion back up. I've been thinking, and I've come up with a different angle on everything. I think I see things in a new light, and I'd love to talk it over. You are going to be very interested in the new developments, I think. I think you'll be excited about this new approach. I've got a new idea I'd like to run by you. Identifying obstacles. The delivery date really seems to be what's holding us back. The main issue is payment terms, from what I can tell. At this point the credit period seems to be the main bone of contention. Drawing someone out, I'm not quite sure where this is going. Where are you headed with this? Stop beating around the bush, what are you saying? What's the upshot? Exploring alternatives. How about we look at this from another angle? Let's try something different. What about putting this in a different light? There might be another way to approach this. Let's come at this from a different direction. Moving towards agreement. You're right. You have a point. I think I can accept that. I think we've made some progress. I think I can await to solving our differences. Taking action. What's the next move? Let's draft up a contract. I suggest the next step is to get everything in writing. Can you fax me a letter of agreement? Please send me a detailed proposal by email. The term for business negotiation, Unit 9 Closing the deal, agreeing to the other party's terms. It's a deal. It's settled, then. Good news. We can accept this offer. I think this is fair to both sides. Let's shake hands on it. Good, I think we have an agreement. Making a summary. Okay, let's go over everything one last time. So let's just run through what we discussed again. Let's confirm the details of our agreement. To sum up, the terms are 510 net 30, payment by bank draft. I'd just like to make sure that we're all on the same page. Tying up loose ends, we just want to confirm that we have agreed on delivery. There are just a couple of loose ends to tie up. There are just a few details to mop up. Let's get together early next week to draft an agreement. Would you be amenable to signing the contract next week? Reinforcing the relationship, looking forward to working with you. We really appreciate all the work you've put into making this possible. Thank you for your support. We stand to benefit a lot from your experience. We highly value our partnership and look forward to our future cooperation. Using positive language, we are confident that we can provide you top quality at a good value. This is the beginning of great things. We are going to work hard to make this project a success. We look forward to working with you. The term for business negotiation. The term for business negotiation, by David